Hi, my name's Sheehan, and this year I managed to go to each of the English National Opera productions, the 2021 to 22 season. And although I've been going there for many years, I thought this is the first time I'd seen every opera in the season. So I thought I'd just do a short video about what I thought of them. Now, for those of you who don't know, the English National Opera is a company based at the London Coliseum, a marvellous design by Frank Matcham. I believe it's got the biggest stage in London as well. And all the operas there are sung in English. The first in the season was Philip Glass's Satyagraha, directed by Phelim McDermott, which is a revival. It's been at the E&O a few times in the past. I'd seen it before actually there. And the opera itself, which is part of a trilogy with Einstein on the Beach and Akhenaten about kind of pivotal moments in human history. And the opera itself, which is all about Mahatma Gandhi, has got some really powerful moments in it. Philip Glass is one of those composers who kind of polarizes people. Some people think he's just wonderful, others just think he's been kind of conning the public for many years. I think, that there's a lot of great things in this opera. The end of Act 2 is just wonderful. It's just got such a power. That repeated refrain keeps coming back and back again. And with the staging as well, they're burning their certificates at that point. It's so moving. You could argue that Act 3 is far too long. Really Act 3 is just based, from what I can hear, is just based on two chords. So it certainly, I think, stretches one's patience a bit. But the production is absolutely superb. I mean, if it ever comes back again, it's worth seeing for that. The use of puppets, absolutely terrific. I may be wrong, but I think it's Rob Thurtle who is in charge of the puppetry, and really terrific. They are. They really bring this production to life, and it's just a great production. Hats off to Phelim McDermott. And it's no wonder that it's been revived numerous times. So the season got off to a strong start. Die Valkyrie, which is a co-production with the New York Met. They're going to produce the whole of the Ring. For some reason, they're starting with the second instalment, directed by Richard Jones, who has directed Rings before, sometimes somewhat controversially. And I was greatly looking forward to seeing this. And musically, I certainly wasn't disappointed. I mean, the E&O Orchestra, conducted by Martin Brabbins, just sounded marvellous. And it's great to see the orchestra being so big that the timpani had to go in one of the boxes in the theatre. So musically, it was really strong, and some of the singing was fantastic as well. I felt that Emma Bell, who sang Sieglinde, was just such a fantastically powerful voice. I mean, I was sitting right at the top, and she just cut through the whole orchestral texture. Really terrific. I felt Rachel Nichols as Brunhilde was really good, but perhaps her voice was a bit too light in places. And Matthew Rose was very impressive as Wotan. Perhaps his voice tied a bit, understandably, near the end. And I quite like the production as well, it has to be said. It had this kind of Scandinavian IKEA feel to the whole production, which sounds a bit naff, but actually it kind of worked very well, I thought. There's some great kind of video elements added in Wotan's monologue. And the Valkyries looked great with these kind of rather charming horses. A big disappointment, of course, was that there was no fire at the end. They didn't get the clearance from the council to have the fire effects for the magic sleep at the end, which was a bit of a letdown, you know, and it had to be explained at the beginning, which I thought, oh no, here we go. And Susan Bickley, who was singing Fricka, had this. I think she had a cold or something, so she just walked around, and someone else sang her part. And forgive me, I can't remember her name, but she did a great job standing in one of the boxes. So I did really think it was a great experience seeing the Valkyrie, and the staging I quite liked, but I felt that not having the effects at the end was a bit of a letdown. HMS Pinafore, directed by Cal McCrystal, was such a delight. Such a funny, entertaining evening. Les Dennis played Sir Joseph, and Les Dennis, if you don't know, is this a very familiar face on British TV screens over the last 40 or so years. He was really funny as Sir Joseph. And you know, and even if, of course, his voice perhaps isn't the best, he did a great job, really made this production. But hats off also to John Savonin. Forgive me if I've mispronounced his name. He was so funny as Captain Corcoran, and he was a delight to watch and to listen to. And it's just a hilarious bit where they kept going on the ship and down the ship. It's a really great bit of staging using the kind of turntable in the middle of the Colosseum stage to a great effect. So that was just a really enjoyable night out. The Cunning Little Vixen, directed by Jamie Manton. I felt this was a rather uneven production. There's some lovely orchestral playing, though. I felt the whole thing perhaps needed a bit more rehearsal. It just seemed a little bit rough around the edges, and I think some of the staging just seemed a bit too dark. It just needed a bit more life about it. It just it lacked a bit of the kind of fantasy and the imagination I think this opera requires. It just seemed a bit rooted, I think, to the ground. Though I enjoyed Sally Matthews' performance as the Vixen. La Boheme, again, revival, a Jonathan Miller staging. This was very good, lovely sets, particularly the scene in the cafe, where, you know, all the life of Paris seems to be centred in this eatery and on the streets outside, and all the chaos that's going on. Really beautifully staged, and, you know, well sung as well. Yeah, I think this is just a solid E&O production, to be honest, and perhaps the orchestra drowned out the singers a bit too much here and there. I know it's difficult, such a thick texture, but perhaps the dynamics needed to be brought down a bit more. But yeah, an entertaining evening. And then Cosi fan Tutte, again directed by Phelim McDermott, set in New York, in Coney Island, at the Fun Fair. And I have to say, I loved this production. I just felt it had so much fun and energy and humour about it. Lots of this is kind of they really played up the circus element. It was just such a joy to watch, and of course it's a gorgeous opera, and I was bowled over by the singing of Nardus Williams as Fiordaligi. What a voice! I mean, she was just fantastic, and the as the other principals were, but she really shone in that production. But it was a really good show. And then finally, The Handmaid's Tale by Paul Ruders, which I believe was composed in the 90s and premiered just after the millennium, I think. And yeah, I had high hopes for this. I'm not a massive fan of the novel by Margaret Atwood, I have to be honest. But I was hoping that this would win me over, because I've heard of it before, and and I've heard lots of good things about it. I thought it had some really powerful moments, some extraordinary vocal writing, particularly for the role of Aunt Lydia, which was brilliantly sung by Emma Bell. Kate Lindsay, who sang the part of Offred, she was brilliant in her role. The staging was rather striking, particularly with the framing of the convention at the beginning and end, looking back at this dark time in humanity. My problem really is with the piece itself. I mean, Ruders quotes Amazing Grace quite a lot through the opera, and I'm sure it's supposed to sound very clever and very sophisticated, and I just think it just sounds jarring and not half as clever as he probably thought he was when he was quoting that. Yeah, I didn't think overall the music was of the highest quality, I have to be honest, and I think the whole biblical aspect of it, kind of using quotes from scripture and using them almost as weapons. I found it all a bit kind of, I don't know, just a bit dated really, a bit old hat. So I'm not a massive fan of the opera, and actually it was my least favourite production of the season. So yeah, it was really good to watch all of the operas at the E&O this season. I'm really glad I did. It's so nice to be able to go back to performances after, now COVID hopefully is on the wane. And, I think overall it was, personally speaking, I found it a very enjoyable season. The highlights for me would have to be Cosi fan Tutte, Satyagraha, and the Valkyrie, just to see that staged, even if it was that it did suffer difficulties on the night. Thanks for watching, and please click like and subscribe if this is your kind of thing. Okay, bye.